having me, guys.
Yep, no problem.
Hey, Keilani, it's Tyler. Appreciate you taking the time to do this with us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we always like to kind of go back and start a little bit with your softball story. So, if you can, for our listeners who aren't quite familiar with your road to success, can you just kind of walk us through your high school, the end of your high school career, kind of, and why you chose to go to college where you did, and ultimately what was the deciding factor in it, and what was the process like?
Yeah, well, I guess early on, just a little brief history with me, how I'm a pitcher, and I actually am a hitting pitcher. And so I started pitching when I was about 11. And it wasn't until high school that's when I started getting kind of better. I wasn't always one of the best pitchers on the team. I was maybe like third or fourth string pitcher. I usually liked sitting on the bench, or I was in the outfield. And it wasn't until high school when I was about a sophomore, junior, me and my sister Stephanie, she was actually a year older than me, and she pitched at University of Hawaii when they went to the World Series in 2011, I think.
Mm.
And so we grew up pitching kind of together, and so it wasn't until I was a sophomore, she was a junior, we kind of took off, I guess, grew into our bodies a little bit. We're both a little I'm about 6'2", she's about 6 foot, and so we both kind of just grew into our bodies and figure out how to use it pitching wise. And so when I was a sophomore, I guess that's when I started, growing my body, like I said, but really started to take in the work ethic of, wanting to get better as a pitcher and be better for my teammates and see what I was capable of if I really put in the work. And so that's when I really started to kind of take off and figure out my pitches and figure out how I was able to use the speed that I was pitching in practice, being able to use it in the game. And so that's when I started getting recruited was about when I was a junior. And so I started getting interest from places kind of all around the country, from different types of conferences. And my parents, I am the youngest of four siblings. And so my three older siblings, they all went to play Division I. My two sisters played softball, and my brother played football. And so I think with my parents going through the process with them, they wanted me to just make sure that I was keeping my options open when I was going through the recruiting process. And so, I visited schools local, and I visited schools in the Midwest and the South. And so I think when it came down to it, I ended up choosing the University of Oklahoma. And it's funny because I had been there before, and then I visited all these different schools, and Oklahoma is actually where my oldest sister, Samantha, she went to school. And so it just felt like home. It felt like family to me, having my sister there. And Coach Casso, she reminded me a lot of my basketball coach in high school, I guess. And so, I really liked her style, and I wanted to be able to help their team out. And they were just on the border of making the World Series the past few years. They made it obviously in the early 2000s, and then the mid 2000s, they were kind of on the border. And so I think that for me, it was a school that I felt like I wanted to go to, but I also was wanting to make an impact on a program. And so for me, it was awesome to be able to go there and be around girls I knew and girls that, help me be better as a person and a player. And so when I was there, we didn't make the World Series my freshman year. We were one game out, and then it was kind of cool because each year we just got better and better. So my sophomore year, we ended up making it. Junior year, we made the national championship game, and then senior year, we ended up winning it. And obviously, if you know Oklahoma softball as of late, it's been awesome to be able to see how well they've been able to do since our team had won that national championship. That's almost the expectations now. They're always one of the best teams in the country. So it's really cool to see how the program has really flourished and gotten better and better each year.
Now, you had mentioned how you had learned to grow as a player and as a person while you were there throughout the years. Obviously, every single year you got better and better as a team as well, not only as a player but as a full team. What were some of the things that were the biggest changes for you? Like you went from high school and then you got to college and you're like, whoa, I need to work on this. What were some of those changes that really made an impact for you?
I think, with Coach Gasser, I'm starting to notice that now. I'm a volunteer coach at OU, and seeing back on my years at OU, just with her, she's really about not being content with what you have. Never settle. Even if you're gaining success in that moment, you could always be better. That's what I'm really seeing with their team that they have right now. They're having a ton of success this year, but I was looking back. That's really what helped me as a player. Okay, yeah, we were one game out from the World Series, and I was an All-American as a freshman, but why can't we make the World Series? I think each year there's always something from last year that kind of gives a chip on our shoulder. That it's like we could do better than this. We could do better. So it's something that it's always helped me as an athlete, kind of growing up as being in high school, playing different sports, and so that's something that I was able to really relate to and just kind of thrive off that as a college athlete.
And just to tag on to that, that's probably something that you're able to take into your professional life as well, outside of playing, just with, coaching, just being a professional. I'm sure that's something that carries over to you. Never settle, just keep moving and striving for the best.
Oh yeah. I think that's definitely an athlete mentality that, we're able to just relate to. You think you're doing something right, and you're like, okay, there's always something better that we could do. So it's been cool to be able to, as I've gotten older, be able to see how that could relate to things outside of softball as well.
Now I got to ask. Because she's such a, it was such a big kind of off-season topic. I just wanted to know what your experiences was like and what you learned from Coach Lombardi while she was there and you were there.
Coach Lombardi, I don't know if you guys know that she was a catcher in college. So it was really cool to be able to learn from her from a catcher's standpoint, just because I've always been taught from pitchers and stuff. And so I think the biggest thing that she helped me with was just being able to be prepared going into games. And we always had a solid game plan to go off of that. If it didn't work out, we were able to look at it afterwards, see what we could do better. And she was really good at helping me find the adjustments of games. If I was doing bad in the middle of the game, if I did bad after the game, looking back at that game, and just her game calling obviously was amazing. And I think the game plan part was something that I was able to take to the professional level, and just being able to try to figure that out for myself. And she made it easy that way, just to be able to make our goals clear for the game and just our strategy going into each batter.
Now, I got to ask this, too, since now you just kind of brought up that she was a catcher, and you're obviously pitcher-catcher relationship is kind of huge. You talk about, I was just watching the SEC championship last night, and, one of the first things Barnhill said was about her relationship with the catcher behind the plate. And one thing I'm watching is, everybody's turning, looking at the dugout, everybody's getting the same, everybody's, got a wristband on, whether the pitcher-catcher. How do you feel about, basically the coaches in the dugout having complete control of the game? Or do you think it's a good thing to where nobody is confused, there's no missed signs, there's no nothing? Well, what is your take on that part of the sport now?
For me, when I was in college, the coaches did call the game. And, I didn't have the wristband, though. They usually relate it to the catcher, which I think the wristbands came probably the year after I was in college. And for me, I like to shake a lot of pitches, so I don't know how I would have been able to handle that. I think it just might have taken too much time if I was having to look at the signs. And, personally, I probably would have missed a few signs. But, yeah, that part, it probably would have taken me a while to get used to. But for the coaches calling the signs, there's so much data that, seeing now on the coaches side of things, there's just so much data that they're trying to keep track of, and with the teams that they're playing. And, we might be facing that team in postseason, be facing them the next year. And so it makes everything easier that way, and I'm able to see that. And I think, the coaches, it works out in their favor with the relationships that they have with the pitcher and catcher. And, I watch the catchers now and the pitchers and catchers now, and I was kind of the same way in college. I think that pitcher-catcher relationship still is really important to have, regardless of if the coach is calling it in the dugout or not. You're out there on the field, and the coach isn't out there with you. And so being able to have kind of that security of that catcher, being able to have your back, I think that's really important still.
You just briefly mentioned it, but can you just talk a little bit about that, what you learned from it, and one of your biggest takeaways?
Winning a national championship, I think, for us, I was kind of talking about from my junior year, we lost Game 3 of national championship to Alabama. And, that was heartbreaking just because we had gone to Game 3 and it was a really close series. And so going into my senior year, we pretty much had the majority of the starters and returners from the year before. And I think just from the get-go from that season, from the very first inning of that season, I'd say, we were on a mission, and, we were kind of like out on a vengeance, I guess. And so you could really feel that the entire season, which I didn't really feel the seasons before. We knew what our mission was, and, we felt it every single game of the season. It didn't matter if the opponent was ranked or unranked, whatever it was. And so going into the World Series, I think, we had less jitters because of that, because our goal was so important to us and we were so focused on that. And so, it was exciting national championship game for us. We played Tennessee, and that was a game that we ended up going 11 innings. And Madison Shipman had a 3-run home run off me in the top of the 11th, and Lauren Chamberlain, or I think it might have been the 9th or 10th. Lauren Chamberlain ended up having the infamous walk-off home run off of them. So that was really exciting for us, just because, we started almost feeling our dreams kind of go away for a second, and we're like, no, this isn't happening again. And that was when, we really buckled down, got down to business, and it was really cool for us because, we did have quite a few All-Americans on our team that year, but it was the bottom of the lineup that kind of sparked that game, that sparked that comeback. So it just shows that, winning a national championship, it really is a complete team effort. And, I think that might have been something that we were missing the year before. We weren't able to really complete it together. We were a great team getting to the national championship game, but, I think we could have came together a lot more that year. And so I think that's something that, obviously Coach Gasso has been able to learn from, see where she could have done better from, and really has done a good job of bringing these teams together now that she has.
Yeah, that's so exciting and fun to hear. I mean, because kind of some of the names you're mentioning there are kind of like, in like the Mount Rushmore kind of like that generation of players. Like Madison Shipman was a superstar. She's got bats named after her. Same thing with Laura Chamberlain. The amount of talent that was in that national championship game was unbelievable looking back at it.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely a really exciting game. Having Lauren Chamberlain in the lineup, she's known for her home runs and stuff, but for me, whenever people ask me about her, she was just so clutch. She just wanted to do so much for her teammates, and that's really how she thrived. It's just when the game was on the line, she wanted to do whatever she could to help spark her team. So, I'm fortunate enough to be able to play with her at the AAA Pride after college. So it's been cool to kind of see both her and I grow separately and together, and to see how, obviously as professionals, totally different ball than college, just to be able to see like how both of us have been able to kind of be in a different stage and being able to grow in different ways.
Well, you just kind of brought it up, so let's dive into that a little bit about your draft experience and going into the Pride, and how that transition was made and what that experience was like for you. And it's kind of cool to always hear the little bit of different stories that some of the players have. Some of the coaches, make all the players put their phones away. None of them. Some of them found out from their parents in the stands while the game was going on. So what was your kind of draft day story and how you ended up with the Pride?
My draft day story, I don't think that the draft was as popular, as exciting as it is now, just because I think Twitter is still kind of coming around in 2013. But I think I was just sitting at home doing homework when I found out that I got drafted by the Pride. And I actually joined the team later that summer. I was still kind of on Team USA, and then besides that whole thing, we had a little, I guess, falling out with the decision to play in 2013 or not. So I ended up joining Pride later on that summer. And, you know, it was kind of a hard transition for me, actually. I came in and there's Kat Osterman was on the team, Kelly Kretschmann, who's still on the team, Jen Salling, Danielle Laurie. So a lot of former Olympians and possibly future Olympians are on the team. And, you know, our team was kind of stacked with Caitlin Lowe, Natasha Watley, a lot of big names around the team. And so for me, I was kind of starstruck. And, you know, I think that's it kind of is a trend when you come to Pride. Some of the girls kind of get starstruck. But I think for me, the transition was hard just because of the different stage it was on. You know, for the MPF, we only had about 4 or 5 teams when I first started playing, and so, you know, we were playing the same teams constantly. Where in college, you play a team one time, you maybe pitch against them twice, and then you might never see them again, or maybe you'll see them in the postseason. And so for me, just being able to have to face batters over and over again, and, you know, they're obviously facing the best pitchers too. You know, it was a challenge just because the lineups are a lot stronger, and you're having to face that lineup one week and have to face them the next week possibly. And also, I think that one of the hardest things was just being able to play. The stakes were totally different than college. You know, college, you know, if you lose one game, that could ruin your RPI, ruin your seedings and stuff. And so the games in college, they seem like they're a little bit more on the line, where with the Oakland, you know, the game was somewhat on the line for the regular season championship, but when it came down to it, everyone kind of makes postseason. Maybe one team didn't make postseason, and so it almost feels like the game would be more on the line towards the end of August. And so that was kind of hard for me to be able to transition with that as well. And then also being able to be part of a pitching staff was also big for me, just because at Oklahoma, you know, it was really only the 1-2 punch, where in the MPF and with the Pride, we have about 5 to 7 pitchers at times. And so, you know, being behind Kat Osterman my first few years, that was kind of hard for me. You know, she would be pitching game 1, her drop ball was just dropping about 2.5 feet, and I'd come in game 2. And I always joke about it. She would make my drop ball look like a batting practice fastball, just because mine does not break that far down. But yeah, I think that transition, it was definitely hard for me being able to kind of, you know, learn to try to grow as a player. You know, I think for me, I was trying to go off of past success, who I was in college, where it was finally, I think about my 3rd year, I just kind of gave up on that. And I was like, you know, I just need to be a new person, just come into my own person, and just stop focusing on so many uncontrollables and just focus on having fun. Because really in the MPF, and I tell a lot of people this, is that the girls that you see having the most success, which I guess is in probably any sport, any level, college to high school, is just the girls having the most fun out there. And so, you know, that kind of just has been my goal the past few years, is just, you know, go out and have as much fun as I can, because my teammates, they're fun. And so, you know, it's helped me really relax and make my goals a lot clearer, just being able to have fun out there.
Now, I got to ask in a way, because now you've kind of, you know, you won the national title just this past season with the Pride. You guys won the championship in that. What was the experience like, you know, winning the championship as a professional now? And, you know, kind of the way you guys won it, that was a spectacular play at the end of the game. You know, you were on the mound. I mean, how much fun was that for you as a player?
Oh, it was really cool to be able to do that. Just, you know, especially against Chicago, at Chicago. Obviously, if you know anything about MTF, the Chicago Pride, they kind of have like their rivalry history. And so it was really cool, especially because it was with Shelby. Because Shelby went to Oklahoma with me as well. And so, you know, like I was saying about Lauren, just being able to watch her grow, being able to watch Shelby grow as shortstop as well. She was a third baseman for me when I was at OU. And so being able to kind of, you know, see everything kind of locked down in the past few years, we had come in winning, being the regular season champs, and then losing in the championship game. And so, you know, that was kind of on our shoulders, and being able to just go out and, you know, kind of the same thing when I was talking about after losing championships, you know, we were kind of on a mission. And so being able to win the championship this past year, it was definitely awesome. It was an awesome feeling for that, just to finally kind of win both regular season and the Cal's Cup championship. And this past summer, I was actually with USA most of the time, and so it was cool to see kind of like my teammates just being able to hold it down and being able to be accepting of me. And we came straight from Japan, straight to championships, and so being able to kind of just go in and, I was obviously on the team the year before and we lost the championship, and so being able to be on the same page with everyone and just kind of go after it with my teammates, it was a lot of fun. 12. And so it's been a few years, and so being back with the Team USA, it's really cool to see, just because now that I'm on the team, it's in the Olympics, where when I was in college, we weren't sure what was going to happen, and so it wasn't an Olympic sport at that time. So for us, this past summer, it was really exciting because that was when we qualified for the Olympics, and we were the first team to qualify so far. And so that was really cool to kind of come together, because half the team, we were pretty new to the kind of the core players that have been on the team the past 5 or 6 years. And so, it was really fun to be able to, get to know new girls and be able to kind of come together. And, fortunately, I got the chance. I made the team for this year. And so this summer, we're going to be having the Pan American Games and just kind of getting ready as the Olympics get closer. So I think biggest learning thing for me so far has been, I think just being able to understand what kind of pitcher I am and being able to just kind of embrace that and not try to be some kind of pitcher I'm not, I guess, which is so totally weird that, as a 27-year-old, I'm saying that. But I think for me, the staff that we had last year was obviously incredible. We had Rachel Garcia, Kelly Parnell, Danielle O'Toole, Monica Abbott. And, for me, I kind of have similarities with a lot of those pitchers. I'm a hard thrower, but I don't exactly throw as hard as Monica. I'm a drop ball pitcher, and I have a changeup like Danielle O'Toole, but, it might not move as much as hers. So, for me, I was just having to embrace the fact that, I wasn't going to be the hardest thrower on the team. I wasn't going to have the most movement on the team. But so my pitches that I did throw, I just had to embrace that and stop trying to, throw as hard as Monica maybe. And so some games that what I had to come in after Monica, like I was kind of saying with Kat with her drop ball, when I was throwing in after Monica, she was throwing heat. And my stuff, even though I was trying to throw hard, it wasn't as hard because they just been facing 70 plus miles an hour. And so I just kind of had to embrace, I guess, my movement pitches after coming in after her. And, same thing, after I came in after a moving pitcher, I had to try to embrace, my heavy drop ball with that. And so being able to try to balance out the pitchers, and I think with Coach Erickson, he does a good job of being able to throw in different pitchers in different situations that totally fit those matchups. And he's constantly moving pitchers around. So just being able to always be on my toes and always be ready to go in, that was a challenge, but it was also really, really exciting because he was doing it all summer where he would change pitchers in and out no matter what the situation was. And when it came down to the semifinal game, which was the qualifier for the Olympics for us, he ended up throwing me in at first base, which I hadn't played first base since my freshman year of college, but I was pitching the past few innings, and he wanted me to go in to pitch the next inning. And so he put me at first, put Rachel Garcia in the game, and then I came in the next inning. And then the same thing happened the next inning. We had a righty-righty matchup, so we put Rachel in, I went first, and then I went back out the next inning. So it's really exciting because, I was kind of pushed out of my comfort zone with those kind of things, but it was all worth it. It made it so much more exciting. For me, I could have been really nervous, really scared if it was any other situation, but, we were trying to win a championship, and that was all that was really on my mind. So it's exciting to be able to be pushed out of your comfort zone when it's something when you're trying to reach the goal of yours and the goal of your team. So that's been really cool for me so far.
Now, we've kind of asked this a bunch. What does the softball coming back to the Olympics mean? I know it's probably you kind of brought it up a little bit back when you were with Team USA to start with, but what does it mean now, and what's the atmosphere like with the team and knowing that there's a goal now and a mission, and not just winning another tournament?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. It makes things a lot bigger just because, when we were on the team before, we weren't sure about if it was going to be an Olympics or not. So it was more we were trying to win world championships in Pan Am's, which still are big tournaments that we're trying to win. But, now we actually get to talk about, our goal, winning the Olympic gold medal. And we get to talk about that every day when we're together. So, that makes things so much more exciting. And, for us this past summer, when we were qualifying for Olympics, that's one of the most exciting and one of the biggest games I've ever been a part of, and being on the World Series stage, I would say, this compares to that just because, Olympic gold medal, that's just a dream of all of ours that we've had since we were little. And, growing up for me, it was always Team USA that I kind of looked up to. It was like the Olympians that, I strive to be like. And so it's cool that the little girls now growing up, of course, it's called softball being huge, but now there's an even bigger stage to strive for. And, it's in the 2020 Olympics right now, which is really exciting for us. And, I think that 2024 Paris, they didn't name it on their short list, but I think there still might be a small chance that it could be in Paris. And then 2028 in LA, there's a big chance. So it's cool to see, hopefully, our sport grow. And I just, we just hope that it's a huge success in 2020 in the Tokyo Olympics to show, I guess, the world, what our sport, what I guess Americans see our sport as, because obviously it's so popular here in America. So, we just hope that the world kind of sees how much we enjoy this sport. And so, yeah, and it's for me, I've been playing in Japan the past few years. I was playing in the Japan Softball League. And so I was over there when they announced it back in 2020. And just to see the past few years, see how much softball has grown over there too, and how much of their PR is headed towards, Tokyo Softball Olympics, bring softball back. That's been really cool to see. And so, it's awesome that they're bringing it back to Tokyo. And, I think that's one of the best countries you can do it for, just because they love softball just as much as we do here in America.
I got a question about softball. I know you've been doing that for in Japan for the last 5 years or so. What has been the biggest I don't know, barrier? Have there been any barriers for you going over there? Obviously, there might be some communication barriers, but I'm just curious, from playing in the U.S. to going over and playing in Japan, how is the game played differently over there in terms of speed, or are there certain things that just kind of threw you off, or if you could talk about that.
Yeah, obviously, the language barrier, that's always a big one. But for me, I was pretty fortunate. I had about 2 translators, and I had a Japanese teacher. So I had a translator, and then one of our coaches, Debbie Schneider, she was actually the Smith's catcher over here in Japan. And so she kind of acted as my other translator just because she's an American that's lived over there for about 27 years. And so, I was lucky enough to have 2 translators with that, me and the other foreigner. We kind of had our own translators since there's 2 of us, 2 of them. And, that made things a lot easier just because they both had played softball. They know the terminology, which I know a few of the teams, when they get translators, they don't exactly know the sport, and that kind of makes it hard to translate things. And so, language-wise, that was tough, but it was something we were able to get used to. And I guess, like you said, it's a different type of softball. And, my first two seasons, most of my losses were hit and runs with a runner on third, which is crazy. You don't really hear about that in the U.S. softball. There's maybe squeeze plays at the plate and stuff, but, not hit and runs. And that's something that, Japanese, they kind of take pride in, they're really good at. And, I think with them, they might be tiny, but they're pretty mighty. But yeah, they're small, but they can hit the ball. They hit it hard, but then a lot of times they'll hit it for contact, or they'll bunt the ball, so you're just always on your toes, and they're always doing it in the most unpredictable counts. And so that's one thing, I had to learn as a pitcher, being able to kind of pitch in those different situations. You have to really figure out, sometimes if you're trying to figure out too much, oh, they could be doing a hit and run in this situation, And sometimes, you just have to pitch the ball and just react once you hear that the runner is running home. And so that's something that, is hard for me to be able to kind of transition off of, but it kind of made it fun to being able to learn and being able to practice that. But yeah, I think them just being able to, they're always keeping you on your toes in a different way than Americans here. But yeah, it's been fun to be able to grow off of and being able to learn their type of softball.
No, that's fun. That's cool to hear, honestly, because it's definitely different than here. So, but let's transition a little bit now into your kind of coaching side and the things you've kind of been working on. And you kind of brought up that you're coaching at Oklahoma now, but you were also kind of doing your own private thing. Can you just talk about why you decided to get into coaching? Was it something you always wanted to do, or is it just something that kind of came, as an opportunity and you wanted to see what it was like?
Yeah. So actually, so last year I was in Japan, and then in the summer I was with USA, and so I was just deciding, I think this is going to be my last year with Japan as we're getting close to Olympics. Just want to stay healthy, and I just got married in 2017, and so I was just like, well, I actually kind of want to be hanging around my husband a little bit. I kind of do when I'm in Japan for 6 months out of the year, and so I decided it was time for me to stop playing in Japan, and I was thinking, maybe I could be a GA somewhere, or I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I was talking to Coach Gasso. She was with USA at the time as well. She was the head coach of the B team, and she was saying, why don't you come be a volunteer for us? Like, you'd be able to train, use our facilities and everything. We'll help you get ready for the Olympics if that's what you want. And so I was thinking about it, and so I decided to. I thought, what better place to go than to Oklahoma if I'm going to be training, and if I'm not going to be in season, not since Japan is in season right now, might as well go somewhere that I'm used to. I know the people there, and so it's been great for me training-wise as an athlete, just because I'm able to, use the facilities. Coach Rocha and JT, they're able to help me whenever we have free time, and I'm able to throw to the girls at practice. Obviously they're one of the best offenses in the country, so it's great for me to get better as a pitcher. It's kind of frustrating at times because they are so good, and I'm like, how are you hitting that pitch? But it's been great to be able to, if I'm not going to get better playing a game, then might as well get better playing pitching to a team like this. So that's been great for me as a player. And, I kind of went in with the mindset that, I'm just going to be training, and I'm not really going to be used here. But it's been cool to be able to kind of be used and kind of help the girls out with my own experiences as an athlete for Coach Gasso, and just